All of you can start looking up and seeing this. The United States government, NASA, the U.S. Air Force, is sending up canisters into the atmosphere filled with chemicals.
Another example is the array of technologies, often referred to collectively as geoengineering. One that has gained my personal attention is stratospheric aerosol injection, or SAI. A method of seeding the stratosphere with particles that a fully deployed SAI program would cost about $10 billion yearly. As promising as it may be, moving forward on SAI would also raise a number of challenges for our government and for the international community and other geoengineering initiatives.
We shall propose further cooperative efforts between all the nations in weather prediction and eventually in weather control.
What we're seeing now, and I first could not believe it, and I started looking at the skies, and these are not normal. They're not natural. There's something going on. I don't know who it is or why they're doing it. All I can testify is it's not natural and it's not normal. It's got to be some outside influence doing that.
I'm here to give you testimony that chemtrails, they're not contrails, are indeed real. They're spraying almost every day. I watch the clouds and watch the spraying program going on. I want to tell you that we're in very great danger from the pollution that's coming down over us. And we've been led astray by the military-industrial complex, and they're responsible for the cloud's creation and weather manipulation programs. They're dark operations.
When you look up at the sun and you see a white haze, that is aluminum floating in the air right now, and it's coming from the aircraft.
You want some figures? Okay, latest water test. Tested the rain. 13,100 micrograms per liter of aluminum in the rain in 2013. Normally, it should be zero.
If people are finding contamination, wouldn't they come here to address it?
Here, yeah.
But nothing's being done?
What?
I don't know. We're investigating this, and there's a huge concern that people are getting sick. Well, I mean, we've interviewed several people. We've been here for a week. Yeah. So you're saying there is no concern? I mean,
there is a concern. Many
people in the county have told us that they've addressed specifically with you this very issue, and they're saying nothing's being done.
That barium and aluminum is being dumped out of airplanes because they can see it in the contrails going over.
Okay. Here's my question. If there's aluminum contamination, which is very toxic, is that something that you're supposed to deal with?
If it's in the air.
It appears that there is contamination. Does that concern you? I mean, personally,
it doesn't appear to me that there's contamination.
Does it concern you if there is? You're flat out denying it?
It doesn't appear to me that there's contamination.
Okay. If somebody could prove that there was, would you be willing to look into this?
No.
So even if they did air quality tests, I mean, who would have to do the test for you to recognize that it would be a problem?
The federal government's doing the testing. They have.
That wasn't his question.
Well, they would have to do the test.
The reason.
There's no way that we could do the test.
The reason we asked for you is because many people told us that this information has been presented to you. Many people also believe that you're involved with the cover-up, and that concerns a lot of people.
I'm here with Kristen Megan, who's actually a U.S. military whistleblower. She has an amazing, fascinating story that we will share with you here today. Now, Kristen, can you tell us what branch of the military you were in and what you uncovered?
Sure. I was in the Air Force on active duty for 9 years, and I worked in bioenvironmental engineering. One part of that process was to approve chemicals, hazardous materials. You know, what are you using? Why do you need it? Where's it being used? And tracking that disposal. After it being brought to my attention about chemtrails or geoengineering, I used to think it was crazy. It actually was disrespectful to my line of work, because here we are trying to prevent environmental aspects and impacts and not have anybody get sick from our operations. But in an attempt to debunk, it changed my life. I started noticing things. I started noticing large quantities on the system where I would approve chemicals that did not have a manufacturer name, wasn't tied to a building. When I started asking questions, I slowly became demonized. A couple years passed after that when I asked again and people realized I was kind of being more vocal about it on social media. I was starting to be thrown into a mental institution and have my daughter taken away.
Wow.
That changed my life. I no longer view the military the same way, and I feel like after 9 years of trying to uphold an oath, I'm able to do that now. I feel they're getting ready to admit it, and they're trying to sell it to us. You know, it's kind of like they sell vaccines to us, they sell fluoride to us. You know, fluoride is a mining waste product. Well, how can we make that good? You know, put it in your water. So I think that they're trying to now kind of admit it and act like they're going to start doing it, and they've already been doing it.
Okay, she's got the snow lit. Let's see what it does. It's not dripping at all.
Okay. So I've seen these things on YouTube about the snow not melting and just turning black when you put fire to it. So I'm gonna go outside here, get some snow. Get some snow. This snow I just picked up outside. I'm just packing it in. Here's the snow I just picked up. You guys saw me pick it up outside off my porch. Check this out. Dude, that is weird. It doesn't melt. There's no drops of water. That is weird. That is weird, man. Look, it just like turns black. You guys haven't seen one drip.
In the snow on Mount Shasta, pristine Mount Shasta, 61,000 micrograms per liter, 4 times the amount that is found in the soil up there. Where in the hell is this stuff coming from?
But NASA is a corporation. I want you to know that.
NASA has also conducted a research program in what they call metallized fuels. We're actually putting aluminum oxide right in the fuel because it has 2 atoms of aluminum and 3 atoms of oxygen. So during the combustion process, it releases all that oxygen and dramatically increases efficiency, but it leaves the aluminum in the air.
Alex Dimitrick explains what we could see.
Hi, my name is Rich Moore. I'm a scientist at NASA's Langley Research Center in Hampton, Virginia, in the United States.
What is your specific job here on this mission?
So I'm an airborne atmospheric scientist, and I'm interested in understanding how aerosols or particles that are emitted by jet engines in the atmosphere go on to evolve in the atmosphere. The people who sit here, the left seat is the mission director, and the right seat is his assistant. And what they're doing is they're monitoring the power that's drawn by all of the different racks. And so they have full control over all of the different experiments, which is really important for a NASA flying laboratory. Yeah, we're trying to keep this thing as full as possible. Yeah. And there's a lot of trade-offs. We want to minimize, I talked about the sticky gases. We worry about particles being lost to the walls of the tube as well. We try to keep the tubing lengths as short as possible for the samples we're making. And so we have a number of different probes, each targeting a different size range. So some probes may target, say, 1 micron to 50 microns, and other ones may target larger particles. So a micron is 10 to the negative 6. So we're talking about 1,000 times bigger than those soot particles that I described. And so it's a big plane. We've got instruments mounted on the fuselage, and then we also have instruments mounted on the wingtips.
Starting in 1993, it was called in vitro toxicity of aluminum nanoparticles in rat alveolar macrophages. That's a real fancy way of saying testing the effect of aluminum nanoparticles on the white blood cells in the little air sacs in your lung, the alveoli. And what they found in this 8-year study was that these particles, when you're exposed to them long enough, it suppresses the ability of your white blood cells to defend you from airborne infections coming into your lungs. So it suppresses your immune system. But they also found that these same particles, once they get into your system, they can actually go through the barrier in each one of the cells. They get inside the cells, And these particles can actually suppress the ability of mitochondria, which are in the cells that help to gobble up toxins and things that would be harmful to the nucleus and the reproduction process of the cells in your body. These processes are suppressed, and so essentially by breathing this material in, your immune system is dramatically suppressed.
They say we're going to control the weather by the year 2025. I asked them, what are they doing, spraying these chemicals on the public? I said there's violation of United States Code 50 USC 1520, which prohibits the American government from experimenting on the U.S. citizens with chemical agents. I said that law also requires who's ever experimenting, when the federal government does it, that they have to report to Congress within 30 days. They wrote back, they said they don't know what I'm talking about. I think we have enough evidence that there's this spraying going all over the place.
We were warned about the takeover of our freedoms by the military-industrial complex by both Eisenhower and Kennedy. They're gaining traction on us, folks. We are in trouble more than just a spraying program.
All I can say is it's about time we get up in arms about this, because it is affecting our health. It's high time that we as citizens of this great country take action.
The most amazing thing is that cloud up there, which was generated by the engine, and in about an hour's time, someone in Mississippi is going to get wet washing. It will actually rain.
13,100 micrograms per liter of aluminum in the rain in 2013. Normally, it should be 0.
It's raining! That's unbelievable! Oh. NASA's playing God. It's making its own weather.
I'm gonna make a 360. These motherfuckers went off today. These motherfuckers went off today. Look at all that shit. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Sorry to inform you, these are not commercial airlines. NASA's got a website up explaining what they are. It's fucking hilarious. They're basically telling us what we already know. The world should be outraged. Look at that. Is that cool? That's all right? No big deal? Yeah, they're just clouds. Yeah, a plane fucking made.
Contrails and chemtrails are different. Contrails dissipate within 30 seconds. That's normal. But chemtrails, when there's metallic particles in them, they stay over your head in the sky all day and spread out and completely cover a perfectly clear day. It happens all the time, right above you. But people are just driving, it's right above you, boom, right above you every day. So eventually, they're gonna tell us that they're gonna do it. Eventually, they're gonna tell us, this is all gonna be proven right now. Eventually, they're gonna tell us, the CIA, they're gonna tell us they're gonna do it, but they're gonna tell us it's that they're gonna do it, not that they've been doing it.
That they've been doing
it. No, not that they've been doing it, but they're gonna do it, and that it's gonna save the planet. Dudes who own everything. Rich is low level.
Rothschilds,
Rockefellers. It was started by David Rockefeller. The CFR, the Trilateral Commission, is another one. There's these groups of unelected people, these rich people who are dictating what's gonna happen. So how could anybody say that shit ain't real? If you think if you still think it's bullshit, you are 100% in a trance, and you need to get that fluoride scraped off your pineal gland. You got too much fluoride.
Do you know that more people are getting lung cancer that don't smoke than ever in the history of time?
If they're spraying, he's talking about spraying, he called it stratospheric aerosol injections, SAI for short. That means spraying metallic particles in the sky. You don't think that's gonna cause some kind of... I mean, people are all like, oh, fucking gluten and GMOs, and yet they don't give a fuck about the air they breathe.
Chemtrails. You know, when I was a kid, I used to see these trails in the sky all the time, and so that's cool. A jet just went over. And then you started to see a whole bunch of them. And next thing you know, everybody in your neighborhood was fighting and arguing, and you didn't know why. Okay, and you really didn't know why. I mean, everybody was fighting.
I've seen a lot of people address this in this issue, and some address it in anger, which is hard not to do. Others address this issue in fear. I address this in faith because I believe in the power of the human spirit. And I believe that we have a tremendous amount of authority over this earth when we exercise it. And just the power of us collectively standing up, speaking and saying, we will not participate and we will not allow this to happen. So we ask the question, why in the world are they spraying? And the answer is quite simple, because we allow it.
Right. Yeah, if we allow it, we're doing a collective suicide on a mass level simply by not participating and saying no to this, because this simply cannot go on. I mean, this is probably one of the worst things happening, and it's probably the least known about.
You know, a tremendous awakening is happening. And from my standpoint, now people all over are waking up. So we are making a difference. And it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning. Again, I'm very hopeful that humanity collectively will stand up. For the first time, we have an issue that affects each and every living thing. So with that, we can create this unity where we collectively stand up and say, no, we're going to create the future that we want for ourselves and for our children. And that future, for me, includes clean water and fresh air to breathe.
Yeah, and just the right to live out our lives, because we've been systematically disempowered, and we've allowed this to happen. We've given over our power to governments, to religions, to corporations, to organizations, and now we're starting to see that we need to take responsibility so we can respond with ability to some of these things that are happening. Do what you can do, make documentaries, spread the word and everything, and at the same time do the inner work of transforming your consciousness to a higher level, because whatever the problem is that we're talking about, we really don't know what the answer is yet, because it's going to come from a higher level of consciousness. But we've got to slow this thing down so it doesn't destroy us before we can get to the point of transformation.
Why is that jet flying so close to our house? At last, those planes are flying where they belong.
That's right. Over the homes of poor people.
Oh, it's you, Stan. What kind of favor?
I abused my CIA powers to make that superstorm.
You made this storm? Lives were destroyed.
Now kiss, you two lovebirds, and put some mustard on it.
Aren't you straight? Yes, but I'm terrified of these people. They can control the weather.
This is a wildfire. This is a deliberate targeting of buildings with absolutely nothing happening around them. The trees are fine, absolutely fine.
But how did the trees stay with the fire being so intense it melts the cars? How did the trees not get burned if this was a fire?
This did not come from the forest fire. All the nano aluminum particles in the buildings and soil after years of drought, years of chemical trails overhead, not to mention the plasma cloud cover laid 3 days in advance of this debacle. See right here, all of the trees are fine.
like we're being poisoned. They're spraying, and especially around the sun. So what I want to do is I want to get a clear view of where they're poisoning at, and why are they concentrating around where the sun is. We're going to have some answers. I'm going to do some interviews. We're going to get down to it. We look here. Here's the sun. And you can clearly see this crap that they're spraying on us. If you look in the sky, I mean, it's horrible. How can people deny this? I have no idea. This is, you know, God don't, what do they say? God don't make straight lines. So, it's just simple things like this is horrible. Do you think that our government would actually spray shit on us? Do you trust them? Or do you
trust the government personally, just for the fact you don't know what they're doing undercover. You don't know what type of undercover hints they hiding from us from the media, what cover-ups they using. You don't really know unless they telling you, and you can't really trust what they tell you just for the fact you don't know whether it's a lie or the truth.
Right.
So from that being said,
you think all the autistic kids with the vaccines and the stuff they put in our food, and you think all the people who have asthma that have trouble breathing, and you look up at this crap in the sky. I mean,
polluting our air. I mean, how are we gonna breathe? How are we gonna live healthy if we gotta breathe the stuff and the toxins that's being dropped down on us, and which we're being lied upon?
Do you think? What do you think the goal is that they're doing it for?
Experiments.
Control the population, maybe.
Experiments, control the population. Right. Mess with our heads. Think we going crazy, maybe.
Right.
Believe what they want us to believe. Never know.
Thank you so much, my friend. And think for a minute, not what you're told to think, but just open your eyes and think. And when you do that, when you open your eyes and you use your mind and you think for yourself, you may be surprised what you see. And then when you find out what you see, what will it take to empower other people, to raise their consciousness and their awareness of what's going on? Because that's what we're going to do. That's what I plan on doing. Because there's no other choice. You can't know what's going on. You can't know what's going on and then do nothing. Because then, in my opinion, if you know what's going on and you do nothing, you're just as guilty as the ones who do.
The pictures look odd. The formations don't look like normal clouds that people have seen before historically. This is another type of man-made cloud, and what we have done and what you're seeing here is we have the photographs from the times that the jet leaves the first trail as a thin, spindly trail to where they form into these different types of cloud formations. All of you can start looking up and seeing this. The United States government, NASA, the U.S. Air Force, is sending up canisters into the atmosphere filled with chemicals. We create experiments which they can see through these persistent jet contrails as they stay in the sky for long periods of time, and they can watch the experiments. The type of chemicals they are using are aluminum, barium, strontium, but there's beginning to be more and more seen across the United States and elsewhere where aluminum, trimethyl aluminum experiments to make clouds are beginning to impact us. The reason I am concerned for agriculture is that none of these experiments have any public oversight nor agricultural oversight. Our drinking water is impacted because the chemicals are now beginning to show up in our drinking water. In California, the State Department of Health drinking water tests were examined between 1970 and this year, and we found unusual spiking in barium, aluminum, strontium. The skies that you see up here, it is important to note, have a white haze to them. When crossing the United States 2 days ago, we saw this man-made produced haze all the way across the United States. There were a few real clouds, and the skies in the white haze looked a lot like this. Like this, like this, like this, like this, like this, like this.
Chemtrails are constantly denied by the mainstream media, even though there's official government papers and documents about chemtrails. Even NASA puts out information about them on their website. It's very strange to me that people still try to reject the existence of chemtrails. Give me a break. There's so much data online about chemtrails and what they call geoengineering and solar radiation management, or SRM. It's not natural, and it's obvious to see. All you gotta do is look up. When they're spraying in your area, the sky is filled with these chemical cocktails, long-lasting trails that spread out into a hazy mist and slowly fall to the ground. And they work in many different ways. This is a multifaceted operation. The most common chemicals in these trails are aluminum, strontium, barium, and lithium. But there are many more metal nanoparticulates as well, like copper, selenium, iron, chromium, titanium, nickel, tin, etc. They are used to control the weather, they destroy soil and ruin crops, they contaminate the water, they help fuel wildfires. Research smart dust, they're dispersing that in the air as well. They poison the population and fill us with these metals. They even spread viruses and experiment on us. Sometimes it's like, are they terraforming the earth in order to create an environment that's suitable for demons or the Antichrist? I know how it sounds, but it's just something to think about. Anyway, these chemtrails work synergistically with 5G cell phone towers and smart meters. The frequencies emitted by these towers can activate and manipulate the metals that fill our bodies. This is all part of the NWO agenda to set up a giant, inescapable command control grid that eliminates all privacy and allows the manipulators to surveil every single person on the plane at all times. Perfect conditions for the coming one world order. This technology can help control our minds, weaken us, make us sick, and ultimately depopulate the world. If there was ever a time for activists to step up in the name of freedom, truth, health, privacy, and sovereignty, now is the time. We are constantly under attack, and we should do our best to keep spreading awareness. Most people are absolutely oblivious to what's happening, so share this video and also check out other videos here on Hibeler Productions. My name is ODD, and a link to my channel will be in the description. Until next time, keep killing the programming and never sleep again. I wish you the best. Take care.
Like a doctor that's handing out red pills to everyone. What in the world are they spraying up there in the air? It's aluminum, lithium, barium. Nobody notices, nobody cares. Everyone's greedy and nobody shares. I want to help you. You'll be in my
I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change. I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how it's going to begin. I'm going to hang up this phone, and then I'm going to show these people who you don't want.
Just our common sense, everyday perception of the Earth. It is flat, as far as we can tell. It is motionless, as far as we can tell. And everything in the sky is revolving around us, as far as we can tell. If nobody told us otherwise, we'd logically assume that the Earth was flat, motionless, with everything in the sky revolving around us. And you can prove that this is the case as well, for instance, with the horizon. As you rise up, no matter how high you go on the top of Mount Everest, or if you go in a balloon higher and higher, we've gotten independent balloons have gone up with cameras. The horizon remains flat all the way around and rises to the eye of the camera all the way up, totally flat, and rises to the eye of the observer. So that's one proof. Now, if the Earth were a ball, no matter how big, the horizon is said to be the curvature of the ball.
If you were to go to NASA, it's all fraud, it's all fake. Pretty much everything NASA puts out is fraudulent. There are no images of Earth from space. Put an end to this topic once and for all, turn Hubble round and show us Earth in real time, but they will not do it. They can't do it. It doesn't exist. It literally doesn't exist. Looking at these images of Earth, including the one they called the Big Blue Marble, which was released in 2002, I think. Zoom into it with Photoshop, you'll see where they've used the clone tool in Photoshop to take a picture of one of the clouds and stamp it in various places around the picture. They got lazy.
If the Earth is 25,000 miles in circumference, there must exist a curvature drop of 8 inches times the mile when you square the mile. 1 mile means there should be an 8-inch curvature drop. 2 miles, 2 times 2 times 8 is 32. That's 32-inch drop. 3 miles would be a 72-inch drop. And this would exponentially continue. Here's the longest bridge in the world. The Danyang Kongchong Grand Bridge in China. 102.4 miles long.
there should exist nearly 7,000 feet of curvature drop in that bridge. 7,000 foot curvature drop. Do you see it? It ain't there. Look at the horizon. It's flat.
You can see in that dive shot that the inside camera, the horizon is completely flat. Then it goes to the outside and you got a huge curve. But when you're looking at some of the amateur balloon footage, some of it's lens corrected and it's completely flat. And others, like the GoPro stuff, the horizon will fluctuate as the camera spins and tilts. The horizon will go convex and concave. A lens effect. It's obviously not the horizon shifting every 2 seconds as the camera jumps. And when it's still, you can see all the way up, totally flat. NASA is essentially Hollywood, and all the images that you think you've seen of a spinning ball Earth are faked. And all the amateur balloon and rocket footage that we've sent up there shows a flat horizon that rises all the way up. And that's impossible on a ball.
Humans, for the most part, don't have a clue. They don't want one or need one either. They're happy. They think they have a good bead on things.
Well, why the big secret? People are smart. They can handle it.
A person is smart. People are dumb, panicky, dangerous animals, and you know it. 1,500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was the center of the universe. 500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was flat. Imagine what you know tomorrow.
The horizon, for instance, is always completely flat, and you don't feel any motion. So if you were just born today and looked out, you wouldn't assume that you're standing on a spinning ball. You'd assume that you are on a flat, motionless plane. So to assume that we are on a spinning ball is actually contrary to our common sense and our everyday experience. And there's also experiments that have been done to test whether we're on a spinning ball or not.
My question was, why, if it's a flat Earth, why couldn't you stand on the coast of California with a telescope and see Japan or Hawaii or something? And I think you know the answer to that. I'll let you answer that.
Yeah. You can't see an unlimited distance. The lowest layer is the densest and not transparent. So if you imagine like a hot, humid day, the haze over a road, all telescopes will eventually blur out in that same kind of way due to the air. So no, you can't see an infinite distance.
Is the Earth flat or round? It's round. Okay, now let's see. How do we go about proving that? Go to the seashore. Go to a seashore.
Watch. As ships sail away, they don't disappear all at once. No, first, the bottom will disappear. See, the bottom of the ship is gone. Now we can see midway up, and then the whole thing disappears. Now, ships came back. They didn't fall off the table. So people realized that the world is curved. I mean, it's a big curve, but it's curved. So, the process of testing claims, the world is flat, the world is round, is what we call science. Now, if you have a claim that can't be tested, that's what we call pseudoscience. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof.
Boats don't disappear over the curvature of the horizon. Boats disappear due to perspective. All you have to do is go to the beach, watch a boat disappear from your eye, and then whip out your telescope, your binoculars, or your high-powered zoom on your camera, and you can pull the entire boat right back into view. Whole mass and all. Yeah, that's right. You think the boat disappeared? Just whip out your telescope, your binoculars, or your zoom camera. You bring the entire boat back into view, completely debunking everything Coy just told you. And here's my video proof. Imagine that. You can debunk the curvature of the Earth yourself with just a simple zoom on your camera. Bye-bye, little boat.
The flat Earth? Well, that didn't stand up to tests. The round Earth did.
And you guys, come on. Everybody watches newscasts. You all use mobile phones. You all see airplanes fly around. You all go to see Ed Sheeran in concert one day in London, another day in Melbourne, Australia. This all depends on our fundamental understanding of the size of the Earth and its shape with extraordinary precision.
What the fuck did you just say?
The way we teach science is you're just some empty vessel and we pour the science into you and then you regurgitate it on an exam. Because Earth, we know it spins once a day, yes?
Off to a great start.
So you spin, you know, when you spin pizza dough, it kind of flattens out. Gets wider in the middle, and so Earth, throughout its life, even when it formed, it was spinning, and it got a little wider at the equator than it does at the pole. Not only that, it's slightly wider below the equator than above the equator.
A little chubbier.
A little chubbier. Yeah. Chubby's a good way. It's like pear-shaped. Yeah. So, it turns out the pear-shapedness is bigger than the height of Mount Everest above sea level. Well, let me just so you understand. We've been fed a lie our entire, I want to call it a lie. We've been fed.
It's a point of view thing, I think.
We've been fed Earth has been misrepresented to us by
science.
Pear-shaped.
Science.
So they're all trying to figure out, is the universe spinning around us or are we spinning around the universe? They tell you, we don't know shit. We're looking at a bunch of lights in the goddamn sky. You're gonna tell me that that light and that light, that's 250, 100 trillion light years away? How the fuck did you figure that out? And you learn.
Well, don't they have an explanation for that shit?
No, exactly. That's what you just said right now. What you just said now is what everyone's natural reaction. Because anytime someone says anything about space, you automatically think, someone figured it out. You don't know the guy's name. You don't know the name of the experiment. You didn't look into it yourself. You just think when someone tells you, how far is the Earth from the sun? They'll say, 93 million miles away. Like you just, everybody relies on someone figured that out and someone double checked it. You're going on what you read. And right now, cosmology, they don't know what the fuck to do. You know what they found out? The cosmic microwave background shows that all the galaxies are on shelves lined up to us. That we're at the fucking center. They don't know what to think about. Yeah, there's a lot of controversy going on about it.
You should see the stars do all sorts of strange motions, but you don't. You only see them make these perfect circles. That tells me that it's the stars that are moving, not the Earth.
The Copernicus principle, the one that we live by, is that we're insignificant, we mean nothing, we're a speck in the universe. That's the heliocentric model, that we go around the sun. The geocentric model means that everything goes around us. That's what this is in the Bible. That's what the first astronomers were saying. Ptolemy was the first one to say, yeah, we are the center. You can tell based on these observations, everything's revolving around us.
Earth is the center of the universe, and we stand still, and the universe spins around us.
You know what? They've lied so much. NASA's lied so goddamn much that I don't believe shit they say.
They've got that satellite image of that frozen moon. What's that frozen moon?
Oh, let me see if that's CGI. Find that They got a picture of a frozen fucking moon? I guarantee you it's CGI. No way they can take a picture.
The heliocentric model is in trouble. Watch as the sunlight shrinks and follows the sun. It's definitely a locally illuminating sun, not far away, not very big, and definitely not 93 million miles away.
there's a place in Bolivia called Salar del Uyuni, which is a salt flat. It's literally 100 miles wide one way and 80 miles across, and it's perfectly flat. And when it rains, literally you get an inch of water, and it looks like a perfect mirror. Now, how does that happen on a sphere? Yeah, it shows you that, you know, if you're one end of this salt flat, you can see perfectly clearly the other end 100 miles away. So it's just showing you that, you know, the Earth is flat, and without the effect of the waves in the sea, you'll be able to see a whole lot further. I took a picture across the Great Lakes from Michigan and was able to see, I believe, Chicago, which he shouldn't have been able to see. And the television station basically said it was a mirage.
I found this photo, Grandmere State Park. This is from Joshua Nowicki, and what you're seeing here is a mirage. We typically would not be able to see this from the Lake Michigan shore. We talked about this last night. Conditions are right on the lake that we're actually seeing a mirage of the Chicago skyline. Very interesting here. Here's what's happening. This is a good example of a superior mirage. So Joshua was on the Lake Michigan shore. He was looking towards the west, and Chicago's beyond the horizon. Should not be able to see it. However, with the right conditions, we have an inversion. We have cold air near the cold lake water and some relatively warmer air above it. This will bend the image of that skyline back towards the viewer. And so typically we would not be able to see this. This image would be viewable from much, much higher in the sky.
They always say it's a mirage, but for a mirage to happen, you have to have very specific atmospheric conditions. You know, it's not a mirage, it's simply that you're looking across a plain.
Now, how come in all these ball pictures, man, you can see all the continents pretty much, and there's just a little bit of clouds here and there. Man, it's like some of these pictures, like there's some where they show the Earth at night and you can see all the lights and stuff. It's like, you're telling me the entire continent didn't have clouds? The entire fucking continent, like you can see Africa and all these lights and all this stuff. Like, you know, if you turn on your porch light, I guess you can see it from space, apparently. And it's like there's no clouds in some of these pictures.
And they spelled out the word sex, right, recently, probably a few months ago, in one of the clouds.
But, you know, if they do their research, they say, well, those are composites. And I said, well, how come they copy and paste the clouds on some of these? And they use the same cloud form. Like, if you're going to make a composite, but you shouldn't be copying and pasting clouds. That means you're adding stuff that's not real.
Yeah, and the thing is, those pictures that you're talking about, the blue marble pictures, you know, I think there's about maybe 8 to 10 of them over time that NASA has put out, and you're absolutely right. None of those pictures look the same. The color of the water is different. Like you said, the continents are different sizes. It's just unbelievable. And I think what happened originally was they would put these things out and nobody was paying any attention to it, you know, and then all of a sudden now people are paying attention to it, and now they're pulling these pictures in, and it's an obvious fraud.
What?
And the thing is, there's supposedly tens of thousands of satellites orbiting Earth. We can't get any close-ups of Earth. We can't get a view of Australia with the buildings upside down.
And they'll look at you like you're crazy. But really, you're the sane one for asking real questions. idiots for just repeating school book bullshit. That's how it works. I was taught school book bullshit in public school, and somehow I was able to break free and free my mind. You know how I did it? I watched NASA rockets explode a bunch of times. Fly off sideways and not go to space.
If you watch the trajectory of the space shuttle, it doesn't go straight up. It always goes in a curve and out to sea. The point is, they actually go horizontal. The space shuttle goes horizontal. It never goes any further up. It goes horizontal, very, very low down in the atmosphere. You know, it's still in the atmosphere while it's horizontal, so it never gets any higher. And it goes out of sight, not because it goes too high, because it goes too far downrange. And they have a plane that's mocked up to look like a space shuttle. It's a jet-powered aircraft. That's it. It's not a glider. It's an aircraft. And that's what they're fooling us, taking billions of dollars in and giving us images and fake planes for that 10 billion, you know, however many billions of dollars it is. What goes up must come down, and literally we have not ever seen anything that has ever gone up and not come down.
One thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go.
Rockets don't have brakes. It literally stopped. All of that angular momentum from the rotation of the rocket and the linear momentum from flying up just stopped. No, it had to have hit something. But what did it hit? If it hit a solid surface, the rocket would have been destroyed, and most likely the camera too, so we wouldn't have the footage, and obviously that's not the case.
Kicks and deals. It's a long fly ball going back. And the ball shatters the sky, bringing the ocean itself down into the stadium. Oh, Simpson just broke this dream's reality wide open.
I know we have still not shattered that highest and hardest glass ceiling, but someday someone will, and hopefully sooner than we might think right now.
There's no place to go.
Although we weren't able to shatter that highest, hardest glass ceiling this time, thanks to you, it's got about 18 million cracks in it. And it may be hard to see tonight, but we are all standing under a glass ceiling right now.
People figured out that we were an enclosed system. The more advanced we got, it would be the biggest thought on our minds. That's all we care about. You could make a wildlife reserve 1,000 miles square. All people, all human beings would do is just be knocking on the fence constantly, going, why is this fence here? Who built the fence? Why are we in here? And so on and so on.
Why do you think that Truman has never come close to discovering the true nature of his world until now?
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented.
Earth, 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 Earth. Yep, 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 yep. Earth, Earth, yep, 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 yep.
Earth. If you start here and you go around long enough in the same direction, you wind up in the place you started from. Yes, Thomas.
Why don't we fall off when we walk underneath, Miss Sarah?
Because of a force called gravity.
What does gravity look like?
Gravity is something we can't see, but we know it's a great invisible force that keeps us all here on Earth. It's a natural force that keeps us all from flying off into space.
We were always told that the world is flat.
You were told right. Don't listen to her. I've been patient with you, Sarah. Lord knows I've been patient. But now your words have revealed you.
The law of gravity was discovered by Sir Isaac Newton in 1687. That's almost 200 years ago, Uncle Evan.
But there is only one law. The law of God.
What is gravity?
I have no idea. Okay, next question.
Wow.
No, here's the difference. We can describe gravity. We can say what it does to other things. We can measure it, predict with it. But when you start asking, like, what it is, I don't know. Einstein, in an Einsteinian answer, we would say gravity is the curvature of space and time. And objects will follow the curvature of space-time, and we interpret that as a force of gravity. That's probably the best answer I can give to a what is gravity question, or why is there gravity. That's the best I can do there. I think that's a good start.
The world is round.
What?
You know how everybody believes the world is flat, like a pancake? Well, they're all wrong. The world is actually round, like an orange.
The world is an orange. And?
And? Well, that's it. It's a great idea. It's one of my best ones.
Yeah, but what kind of orange? Is it a navel or a juicer? What?
Look, just sleep on it. In the morning, the idea will come to you again, and you won't even remember where you got it. Get it?
Got it.
Good. I must say, I really thought you'd catch on to this a little quicker, Copernicus.
What? My name's not Copernicus. I'm Charlene Sinclair.
You're not Copernicus? This isn't 16th century Poland? Oh boy, I screwed up.
How do you brainwash? You repeat the same thing over and over again. You know, if somebody's resisting the concept, if you keep fucking repeating it, they'll incorporate it in their brain. Since you were a kid, you've seen this image. But you've never seen it from that point of view. But your brain has three-dimensionalized. Oh yeah, that's the Earth. How? Through repetition.
Well, let's just all get on our hands and knees and wait for a scientist or an astronaut to come along, or Neil deGrasse Tyson to come along and bestow upon us their knowledge.
Now, as you can see, this is the evolution meter, and I've put God, the creator of everything, on the right side, and evolution on the left. I won't change my mind, because I don't have to, because I'm an American. I'm dug in, and I'll never change.
Mac, look, you're wasting our time. You're not going to get us to not believe in evolution.
And why is that?
Because the smartest scientists in the entire world all agree that it's real.
I'm glad you brought that up. Mr. Reynolds, these were all the smartest scientists. Only problem is, they kept being wrong.
Oh, this is insane, you fool.
I'm a fool because I have more faith in the saints that wrote the Bible?
Yeah, because you just read the words of a bunch of guys that you never met, and you just take it on faith that everything they wrote was true.
And what makes you think what your scientists are writing is any more truer than my saints?
Because there are volumes of proven data, numbers, figures.
Have you poured through the data yourself? The numbers, the figures?
Well, no, no.
Oh, interesting. So let me get this straight, Mr. Reynolds. You get your information from a book written by men you've never met, and you take their words as truth based on a willingness to believe, a desire to accept. A leap of, dare I say it, faith?
Come on. Look, I mean, I don't even know how I'm supposed to respond to that. Like, come on.
I rest my case.
Matter tells space how to curve. Space tell. Did I get that right?
The science community is ignoring a lot of the things that we're looking at, and so normal people are going out and doing experiments. And one of the experiments has turned up an amazing fact that we've not been told, and it destroys the whole idea of this heliocentric system, and that is the moon. Now, you can actually measure the temperature of the moonlight next to the temperature of the shade of the moonlight, and you'll find the moonlight is colder than the shade, the opposite from the sun. So the moon is throwing out its own light, and that light is the opposite from the sun. Now, that tells you that it's not reflecting the sun's light. It's producing its own, and its light is different from the sun's. So, you know, the scientific community have not told us this, because they won't tell us this, because it destroys this idea that the sun is, you know, is lighting up the moon.
Everyone knows, like, if you're in sunlight, it's colder in the shade, right? So if it's 100 degrees in the sun, it's 90 degrees in shade. You go to the moonlight, like, especially in a full moon, especially if it's high in the sky, the moon is its own independent object. It is not reflecting the sun rays. The sun is its own object. Also, you know, about the same size, which is, you know, again, coincidentally, you know, why the moon fits so perfectly in front of the sun during an eclipse. We always thought it was coincidence that even though it was 400 times farther away, that it was also exactly 400 times less diameter, which is why it fits. And the other weird thing about the moon, which everyone thinks, oh, it's just a coincidence, is that we never see the other side of it. It's constantly perfectly rotating, so we only see one side of the moon. Exactly one side. It's not like we have like a quarter of a degree every 5 years or half a degree here and there. It's always the same side. There are no coincidences when it comes to this system. It was deliberately built, but I think it was deliberately built to be detected, and I think we were naturally supposed to figure this thing out maybe as late as the 1970s, but the government figured it out first, and they have been spending a heck of a lot of money trying to keep it a secret.
When I look at the people who signed the Antarctic Treaty, and all the nations that were down there doing whatever they were doing signed a treaty, and I believe it was 1958 or somewhere thereabouts, saying, nope, nobody can stake a claim to Antarctica, and if you're going to go down there, you can only go down there for scientific reasons under carefully restricted guidance, but it's not a free-for-all. Nobody can just, you know, hey, I'm going to go check out Antarctica and do a high jump of my own. No, can't do it.
It's the only treaty that's you know, all these countries have signed and never broken and completely agreed on. It's the only one. You know, what treaty is there that everybody's agreed on? We're being kept away from it for a reason. You know, they have some scientific bases there, and literally it's controlled by the military because they don't want you finding out what's beyond.
During 3 voyages lasting 3 years and 8 days, Captain Cook and crew sailed a total of 60,000 miles along the Antarctic coastline, never once finding an inlet or path through or beyond the massive glacial wall. So the other question is, well, how come ships don't go off the sea if it's flat? How come ships don't fall off the edge? Well, here's why you don't fall off the edge. There's a 200 to 300 foot high wall that is the border that Scripture says is keeping everything in. Nothing's going past that.
Because they don't want you finding out what's beyond.
Personally, I think the unconquered south face is the only one worth scaling. It's a 20,000-foot sheer wall of ice, but that's never stopped me before. Risk? Of course I'm aware of the risks. Thank you for your concern.
here's the picture of the Earth from space. There it is. Since you were a kid, you've seen this image. But you've never seen it from that point of view. You've never seen that with your eyes from that scale of a model, that point of view, from outside of the planet's surface. Well, here's the first image that sold the whole thing. 1482. This is when they came up with this idea. We are on that thing. It's a ball. Hey, we should go to the North and the South Pole. We didn't do it yet. It's a fucking ball. Hey, nobody's even like jumped up high enough to see if it is a ball. We can't do that. We don't have planes yet. It's a ball. You know what? We adopted this whole model like 400 or 500 years before the airplane. 400 years before the airplane, pretty much. It was like what, beginning in the 1900s? They went to the North Pole in the 1900s. This is 1482. Nobody went to the top of the globe, to the bottom, or flew up, or built a skyscraper. It's funny that we said that this is what we're in right now. This is what we're on before any instrument approved. This is the first time we actually had like an instrument of flight to actually go high enough to actually fucking check out if what we agreed to 500 years ago was real. So if they were wrong after 500 years, the question is, would they tell you? Newtonian physics. Why objects move on a ball spinning 1,000 miles an hour while it's going 26,000 miles around the sun. Basically the model we accepted right now.
The sailor thinks that he's traveling around the Earth this way, when in effect he's traveling around the Earth this way.
They began flying it around the world, from Abu Dhabi last year, with stops in India and China, then across the vast Pacific.
Does running around your neighborhood prove that the neighborhood is round?
I was an airline pilot for Delta for 26 years. A pilot's primary flight instrument is his artificial horizon, which he has to be maintained level to keep from climbing and descending. From a cockpit, weather permitting, I could see hundreds of miles in all directions, viewing cities connected by roads across the flat plain as far as the eye could see. Nothing ever leaned.
If a pilot is flying around the curve of the Earth, then he should be dipping the nose down every 5 minutes. He should be dipping the nose down to stay around the curve. That's absolute proof that a plane flies over a flat surface rather than a curved one. But I went to the manufacturer of the artificial horizon, and they confirmed to me that it's completely mechanical, nothing electronic in it whatsoever. So it's literally just a gyroscope that can freely move. That right there is proof to me that planes fly over a plane.
Flat Earthers, it's time. We are going to destroy the Globeheads' arguments concerning flight routes.
When you go onto the plane tracking software, you'll see hundreds and hundreds of flights over the northern hemisphere, and you can track those flights from beginning to end. When you look at any flight in the southern hemisphere, what you'll find is the flight takes off and disappears off the tracking.
And that only leaves why. Why have they done this? What's the point of this grand deception? I think Eric Dubay explains it best.
People are always asking, why do they do this? I mean, this is
I mean, other than the obvious profit margin motive, NASA being the biggest black budget black hole in existence, sucking in over $30 billion taxpayer money for the fake moon landings alone. Nowadays, hundreds of billions of dollars, and not just NASA, but RASA and all the other fake space organizations around the world giving CGI images for hundreds of billions of dollars.
You want to put something in context. If you want to do something with $3.5 trillion, you can do whatever you want. Whatever you judge to be important to the profile of the nation that you were trying to just build and to sustain.
So by surreptitiously indoctrinating us into their scientific materialist sun worship, not only do we lose faith in anything beyond the material, we gain absolute faith in materiality, superficiality, status, selfishness, hedonism, and consumerism. If there's no God and everyone's just an accident, then all that really matters is me, me, me. So they've turned Madonna, the mother of God, into the material girl living in a material world.
It's all about making us feel nothing so that we can be used. If everybody realized how special we all are, how unique every single life is, then this whole world would change overnight. We wouldn't allow ourselves to be used by this cabal.
I start from the supposition that the world is topsy-turvy, that things are all wrong, that the wrong people are in jail and the wrong people are out of jail, that the wrong people are in power, that the wealth is distributed in this country and the world in such a way as not simply to require small reform, but to require a drastic reallocation of wealth. All we have to do is think about the state of the world today and realize that things are all upside down. Now, if you don't think, if you just listen to TV and read scholarly things, you actually begin to think that things are not so bad, or that just little things are wrong. But you have to get a little detached and then come back and look at the world, and you are horrified. Now, as soon as you say the topic is civil disobedience, you're saying our problem is civil disobedience. That is not our problem. Our problem is civil obedience.
I think all our society is run by insane people for insane objectives. And I think that's what I sussed when I was 16 and 12 way down the line, but I expressed it differently all through my life. It's the same thing I'm expressing all the time, but now I can put it into that sentence that I think we're being run by maniacs for maniacal ends, you know. If anybody can put on paper what our government and the American government, etc., and the Russian, Chinese, what they are actually trying to do, you know, and what they think they're doing, I'd be very pleased to know what they think they're doing. I think they're all insane, you know, but I'm liable to be put away as insane for expressing that. You know, that's what's insane about it.